Thank you so much to all the doctors for taking your time and joining in this session where we have Dr. Shyam here, who will be talking about the current status of the strike that's happening in UK. And we are basically doing this session upon receiving overwhelming requests from our doctors itself asking what is the current status in the UK. And yes, then we thought rather than we explaining about what exactly is happening there, it's better if someone is who's already there in the ground will be able to explain it much better about what exactly the scenario is and what exactly is happening there. So that's the reason why we are having Dr. Shyam here. Thank you so much, Dr. Shyam, for taking your time and joining with us in the session and briefing our students about the current scenario in the UK. So, to the ones who haven't met Dr. Shyam earlier, so Dr. Shyam is currently a subspecialty trainee in stroke medicine at Charing Cross Hospital in London. And also he is a great mentor, and he has been also giving mentorship to all our students in GooCampus who are ideally pursuing their lab pathway. So without much delay, over to you, Dr. Shyam, and you can over to you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think hopefully most of you are from India, and it's always weird to then give a conversation where you have own slides in front of you and hardly any people around. So bear with me if I make a mistake. However, first of all, thank you for joining. And second of all, let me start before I start talking. I will presume generally when I do my mentoring sessions, I kind of do them one-to-one or two to three people, and I know their background, like I read up. So I know what stage of your careers you're in. So I'll start with a few housekeeping rules. The most important thing is every one of you will have one question or two that you really want to be answered by me. That's why you have logged in. So what I would suggest is that you write that question by the end of, by the time, this is a 40-minute talk in all. I should be done with everything in 20-25 minutes, but around 10-15 minute mark, start putting down your questions in the comment section so that Vipin here can look through them. And if I've not covered them, he can highlight them. So we can make the most of your 40 minutes because then this session is meant for you basically. The second housekeeping rule is I was very apprehensive to do this talk because, it's a very dark day in our careers when doctors have to strike, that too for something like pay. And if you have followed the news, then you would find that the doctors' pay, a newly qualified doctor's pay, very, very importantly, is per hour right now at a rate which is less than the UK train driver or even a barista serving coffee in Pret, right? And that's the sensationalization of the issue. But the issue is far more deeper, and I will try to be as objective without just talking about true statistics numbers and tell you what the strike is about, right? I don't want to influence any opinion, neither talk down the UK government, neither talk up the doctors or talk down the doctors, and I'll leave the judgment to you, the audience, because there is no right answer in this situation, right? Because, I don't know, strikes in itself as doctors is quite a worrisome thing. So without any further delay, just a reminder, the questions in the comment section, because if each of you puts on your speaker, I won't be able to understand. So questions in the comment sections whenever you want to. So again, let's start. Let's see how I get this. Okay. So the first question is, I know you guys might have known because you're from, GooCampus or Inspire IMG, either of them. But I thought let's start from the basics. Like when they say junior doctors, right? So going back to the heading, I've written, why are junior doctors in the UK striking, right? So first question is, who is a junior doctor, right? So we have to get that cleared. So junior doctor is any qualified doctor. So by that you mean anyone who has completed their MBBS or their medical school and is in a state of training right from their foundation all the way till they complete their training. So even though I am an ST5/6 registrar about to do my CCT in 2 years time, I am still classed as a junior doctor. So you have medical student, everyone in between as a junior doctor, and then you have the consultant, right? sometimes this training, which in the UK is quite lengthy, can take all the way somewhere up to 5 years. Like example, foundation 2 years, GP training 3 years, or IMT and specialty, which might all the way extend up to 11 years if you take breaks, right? So that is what a junior doctor is. The second part is what is the starting salary of a junior doctor, which you should know, or rather if you Google it on the BMA website, then you would find out that the foundation year 1, which is an intern, gets a salary of £29,384 on paper, which is for 5 days a week. So it's Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, which is 40 hours, right? So that is the basic salary of a foundation 1 doctor. Obviously, they do a bit more extra. They do weekend on calls, they do night on calls, and that adds on. But say you were in a post, which generally foundation doctors sometimes are, where they're observing an on-call kind of a block, for example, psychiatry, which I think you do in F2, or GP, which is a community-based job, then you would only be working 9 to 5, which is 40 hours a day, a week, which then gets you to the basic pay per hour of £14.9 per hour. Now, the thing that you should understand is that UK is a different economy. And if you look at the census, which I will go to, but before I go into the census and things, don't take this number at face value, because this is the gross salary. Then the taxes go out and a few other deductions if you have student loans and whatnot. And then the pay actually comes down to be far less. So how far has the junior doctor pay fallen is the key question, right? So I'll take the maths away, but just the broad figure is 26.1%. We have had a pay cut. So everyone, inflation everywhere, the prices are going up, the workload is going up, but we have had a cut, overall cut, because we had our pay frozen at one point. Then we got the 4-year deal agreed in 2019, which meant that we will have the pay increase by 2% every year. But this is all fallen short because of during the pandemic and things like that. So grossly speaking, our pay as junior doctors has gone down by 26.1% since 2008, right? So what are the correct numbers, right? So I have done my digging and I have got all these from official websites. Currently, there are 7.2 million patients on waiting lists in the UK. These are post-pandemic side effects, and they are in part keeping with staff shortages as well. That means that there are 8,700 medical posts vacant in England. When they say medical posts, that means of all calibers. It does not include nursing, but they mean posts from right from FY1 all the way up to ST8 are the medical posts. They may be including consultants. I'm not that clear about that. 124,000 NHS staff vacancies. Staff, which means your nurses, HCAs, physiotherapists, and all that. 40% of the junior doctors, when they did a survey, said that they would leave the NHS as soon as they can find another job. And you will see all of this online. It's nothing that I have pulled out or made myself. And burnout, which is the result of all of this, like less pay, less staff, more patients, and UK's cost of living crisis are driving scores of people currently, which you will be hearing in the news. And that's why you have demanded this topic to be spoken about, I presume, are putting people and public away from coming and working for the NHS. And this just does not stand true for the junior doctors, but is affecting consultants as well. And this is the current situation post the pandemic. So all these numbers, what do they mean? So for me, burnout, it happens because you have less staff and increased workload. That means that because the waiting lists are high, you end up doing more and more work. There are more and more people visiting the A&E. There is more and more admissions. There are a lot of pending elective procedures that the pandemic time you had closed down the hospitals for elective work. So, like people needing a joint replacement, for example, or something that has been pending from then, all that work has still been piled on, and the current work is also there. So that is causing a imbalance between lot of work, but because of that work, you get staff that are overworked and very tired. Now you add to that mixture the cost of living crisis after the Ukraine war and the current post-pandemic, where the inflation, which currently stands at 10.1%, what that means is that every product that you use has gone up by 10% currently, which is right now, but which is actually better than November, which was around 11.1%. But this is still the highest ever recorded in the past 40 years. Like I said earlier, the pay of the doctors has fallen down by 26% since 2008. The waiting lists are high. So, and newly qualified doctors, which I mean FY1s, okay, so FY1s are someone who have just finished their MBBS, are then getting paid 14.9 pounds an hour. Now this complete, mixture of increased workload, less staff, and now your pay is also a bit docked, means that there is it's a recipe for disaster. Like, why would anyone put in that much amount of effort? And if you look at now, these can't be quoted, but these are there on your Instagrams and things, that some barista is getting paid more than a junior doctor, or the train drivers are getting paid more per hour than a doctor who has completed 5 years of medical school. And this is what makes this cycle, perpetual. What came first, the chicken or the egg? But this is where the situation stands. So what are they, rather the junior doctors, or we, because I'm a part of them, we demanding is that the junior doctors, so it's not how would you say, the way the strikes are, strike is the ultimate thing in your arsenal that you want to do. You never want to strike as this profession. No one is happy about the strikes, please understand, but if we would not do them, we were not being listened to. So these things, these issues have been consistently highlighted to the government for a long time, to the point that it finally reached a point where the British Medical Association, which is the BMA, then went on to take polls from its members. And BMA is an organization of all the doctors in training and consultants. They have different wings, but the junior doctor division took a poll, of which 77.5% of the people that were a part of the BMA came to the polling site. So, the turnout for an election, they count as how much was the footfall, how many people actually turned up to vote. So it was an outstanding number of 77.5% people. And of that, 98% people were in favor of the industrial action. So the word we use for strikes is industrial action. And this was then declared that we would then go for strike. And this all happened, the poll collecting was until February 20th. So look, in middle of January, these polls were opened because no one was listening to us. 20th of January, the results of the poll came in. These results at every stage were updated to the government, right? They said that we are doing the polls now. If they come positive, we'll strike. Then the results, 77.5% people have voted. Let's see what they say. And then 98% was positive. And after that, the committee together gave a notice to the government stating that, we need our pays to be matched to 2008 because of the new contracts and things. We have lost so much pay. At least set the pay right, because then you can't change a few things. You can't change the workload post the pandemic. That's something that's, you just got to deal with. The second thing you can't change is the inflation. You can't factor in that. The only thing that remains that we can do to somehow sustain having this career and also, living life is by getting the pay up. And that is exactly what is demanded. So they have said that as of the beginning of 2023, the last line, which means that the pay should go up by around, the demand is to go up by around 35%. Now you look at 35% and you feel it's unnatural, but that comes down to, the previous slide where we said the pay of junior doctors is what? we said the pay was 14.9 pounds. That becomes 19 pounds actually. So that's not like a massively, extraordinary ask for someone who has gone through medical training for 5 years and has started a job which, affects a day-to-day life. The very fact that I have to explain this in a meeting setting is so traumatic to me, but someone has to speak out, right? So what was the government's response? Earlier this month at a meeting, the health secretary told the chairs that they did not have a mandate. What does that mean? It means that they came for a meeting, but they had no formal discussion or plan to solve this problem, right? And they said they were trying to go ahead without even trying to negotiate. So what it means is they're willfully allowing you to go ahead with the strike without even negotiating, because this is the time when that meeting happened. People should have said, okay, you've got this majority, you're going to strike, we don't want you to strike, here's an offer, or let's make things better, let's work to you, let's make something. But there was no mandate. So finally, when was this strike? This was a 72-hour walkout. It started at 7 a.m. on the 13th of March up to 7 a.m. on Thursday, which was the 16th of March. And for 72 hours, the junior doctors did not go to work, but they completed their shifts which they were on previously. So what happened during this 72 hours were that the senior doctors, which are the consultants and the staff, were providing cover for the emergency setting. So the hospital stayed working, the emergency setting stayed working. It was just that the consultants were at the front door rather than junior doctors. And what that did though was that some of the appointments, which were scheduled appointments, needed to be cancelled, because generally the junior doctor would look after the small tasks while the consultant is then freed up in the afternoon to do clinics or something like that. But if there is no junior doctor, the consultants and the senior staff are doing the jobs that a junior doctor should be doing, so they can't be in clinic. So it did disrupt the service, but I want to stress very strongly here that the emergency services and all the acute services were going as usual, right? What's next? So the latest update from the strike from last night, as far as Indian time is concerned, is that the Secretary of State, which is Honorable Mr. Steve Barclay, he has now agreed to meet, and then the BMA has sent this letter to him. And I'll read that letter out, and that's about the latest bit. Just a few numbers wise, the BMA has 50,000 members, which constantly keep on growing because of this strike. And I think around more than 50,000, some people say 61,000, some say 60,000, but for sure more than 50,000 junior doctors have had a strike all throughout England. And I'm very careful when I say England and not UK, is because the strike was in England, and I'll get back to it now. And the letter that the BMA has then given back, or rather sent back, which is an official letter, and it's available to all BMA members. So anyone who is a BMA member, it will come in your email, is that we believe that the negotiation should have started months ago. And now that you are ready, we suggest meeting tomorrow afternoon, which is today. So UK time, I think sometime in the afternoon they might meet, and you might get more updates. And we will be disappointed if you do not attend with your team and a mandate this time. So they want specific answers, and the strikes are not done, basically. So this is where we are with the strikes. I just wanted to highlight, because you are listening or tuning in from India for these website, and I work very closely with Inspire IMG as well as GooCampus. So I just want to touch base on the issues while you are a foreign medical doctor coming to UK via the PLAB pathway. Then are you eligible to strike is the key question. Some people get, because they feel that you're on a visa, so can you strike would be one of the main questions. Then yes, you can strike. You can legally take part in legally organized industrial action, which this is. It will not result in termination of sponsorship, and the Home Office makes exceptions to its regulations for legal actions, right? And this is all coming from from a lot of people who had lot of issues before this strike went through. And these are various visas. I'm happy to send this off as an email screenshot or something, but it's basically every type of visa and what you need to do if you are sponsored by an NHS trust while being in the country. I would give two important links, which I'll ask, I think, Vipin or someone to send over to you later on after this seminar, are the the junior doctor strike guide, what to do and what is a part of that strike, so that you understand what are the limitations and what is expected of a junior doctor. And the other website is the bma.org.uk, right? These two links are very important. Read it for yourself, right? Don't believe in hearsay. Even I have an opinion. Everyone has a bias. I have a bias. You will have a bias, but read it for yourself and make your own opinions whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. The next question which I want to quickly deal with is, what about rest of UK? Junior doctors in England have voted in favor of the strike and have gone for the strike 13 to 15 March. The strike ballot for junior doctors in Scotland is set up to go between 29 March and 5th of May. The fight for full pay restoration in Wales has already begun, right? So UK is made of, I'm sure you guys already know, who am I to give a geographic lesson, but UK is made up of four basic, so it's England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. These four nations together make up the United Kingdom. And now England has gone through the strike and now the government is listening and they know that other people are going for strikes as well. What about the senior doctors? The news from 6th of March, this news article from 6th of March is that consultants are also going to ballot for industrial action next month because there are a lot of issues with their pay rises, pensions and other things, which I won't dwell with here too much because this is meant for junior doctors. But just to make it sure that, that you understand that it's not just a junior doctor thing. It's not a isolated event. It's regarding the pay scales for everyone in healthcare. And it's reached a point where all these strikes have started. Is there any other important slide that I may have missed talking to you? No. And now that I've told you the details of the strike process, right? I've told you why the strike happened. So just to summarize, it was because of cost of living crisis, no pay rise, actually a pay reduction, increased workload, burnout, which is causing people to leave the NHS, which then increases the workload further for the people that stay. And then, that vicious cycle continues. That I think has perpetuated the strike and not quite, it's not a knee-jerk reaction that this happened yesterday and we've done a strike today. All these, the nails that were put in place were going on from 2008. So if you look at back in time, it's 2008, 2018, 2023. So that's nearly 15 years in the making, right? Or maybe my math is bad, but that's how long it has taken to reach a point where people have actually had to go and strike. So I think I have updated everyone about the strike.